Greg and James had been friends since childhood, sharing a love for adventure that had only grown stronger with time. As autumn painted the world in fiery hues, the two decided to embark on a hiking trip deep into the heart of the rugged mountains that loomed on the horizon. Little did they know, their journey would take an unexpected turn into the unknown. The early morning sun painted the forest in dappled shades of gold and green as Greg and James set out on their hike. Armed with backpacks filled with provisions, camping gear, and a map, they were well prepared for their adventure. The trail they followed wound its way through dense, ancient woods, their footsteps echoing through the silence. Hours passed, and the friends exchanged stories and laughter as they trekked deeper into the wilderness. They paused at a pristine mountain stream, refreshing themselves with a cool drink of water. The rhythmic sound of flowing water was soothing, a stark contrast to the tension that would soon grip their souls. As they continued their hike, Greg, the more adventurous of the two, noticed something unusual amidst the thick foliage. A flash of metal glinted through the underbrush, catching his keen eye. With a curious glance at James, he forged ahead, parting the foliage to reveal a rusted steel door half buried in the earth. The door had no markings, and its age was apparent in the layers of rust that clung to its surface. "James, check this out," Greg called out. His voice trembled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. James joined him, eyeing the door with skepticism. "What do you think it is?" "I have no idea, but it's worth checking out," Greg replied, his curiosity getting the better of him. Together, they struggled to pry the door open, revealing a dark, narrow corridor leading underground. Without hesitation, they decided to descend into the unknown, using their flashlights to illuminate the pitch-black passageway. The air grew colder as they ventured deeper, and the walls of the tunnel seemed to close in on them. Their footsteps echoed eerily, creating a sense of foreboding that neither could shake. After what felt like an eternity, the tunnel finally opened into a vast underground chamber. Greg and James stood in awe as their flashlights revealed the remnants of an abandoned military base. Rows of bunk beds lined the walls, covered in tattered mattresses and faded blankets. Dusty uniforms hung from hooks, and old, broken equipment lay strewn about. "This place is incredible," Greg whispered, his voice echoing in the silence. As they explored further, they discovered an officer's quarters, complete with a desk covered in yellow papers. They found a journal that chronicled the mundane activities of soldiers stationed there many decades ago. The journal revealed no dark secrets, only the passage of time and the gradual abandonment of the base. Hours passed, and Greg and James decided to set up camp in one of the larger chambers, using the abandoned cots for their makeshift beds. Despite the eerie surroundings, they felt strangely safe. The evening sun cast long shadows through the dusty windows, and the friends settled in, telling stories and laughing away the unease that had settled upon them earlier. However, as night fell, a heavy silence descended upon the underground base. The wind howled outside, and the darkness seemed to press against the windows like a malevolent force. Sleep proved elusive, as unsettling dreams plagued their rest. In the dead of night, they were awakened by a loud crash. Startled, they grabbed their flashlights and ventured into the corridor. The source of the noise was an old metal door swinging wildly on its hinges, caught in the gusts of wind that had intensified outside. Their hearts raced as they secured the door, trying to shake off the unease that had returned in full force. As they lay back down, the unease turned to dread. Shadows danced eerily across the chamber, and strange noises echoed through the underground base. Footsteps that were not their own, whispers that seemed to come from the walls, and the unshakable feeling of being watched plagued them throughout the night. Dawn finally broke, and the friends wasted no time packing up their belongings. The once alluring underground base now felt like a tomb, and they longed to escape its haunting grip. The exit tunnel seemed longer than before, and they emerged into the daylight with a sigh of relief. The forest welcomed them back with its vibrant colors, and the mysterious bunker became a distant memory. As Greg and James continued their hike, they couldn't help but feel that they had stumbled upon something beyond their understanding, something that had been waiting in the darkness for their arrival. The horrors they had experienced in the depths of the mountain would forever haunt their dreams, a chilling reminder of the unknown secrets that could lurk in the most unsuspecting places. Mike and James had always been inseparable. Growing up, they shared everything from toys to secrets, and as they got older, their bond only grew stronger. One shared passion that had always connected them was their love for the great outdoors, particularly hiking. As they reached their late teens, they decided to embark on an adventurous hiking trip into a remote forest known for its eerie reputation. The forest, named Blackwood Forest, was notorious for being the setting of numerous ghost stories and unexplained disappearances. Some locals believed it was haunted by the spirits of ancient warriors who had perished there, while others claimed it was the hiding place of a notorious gang of outlaws. Mike and James, however, dismissed these tales as mere superstitions and saw the forest as an exciting challenge. They packed their bags, loaded up their trusty SUV, and set off for Blackwood Forest. The journey was long and winding, taking them deep into the heart of the wilderness. The forest was dense, and the canopy of towering trees blocked out most of the sunlight. The further they ventured, the quieter it became, until the only sounds were the rustling leaves and the distant call of a lone owl. As night began to fall, they decided to make camp in a clearing. They parked their car in a spot they deemed safe and cozy, surrounded by tall trees. They set up their tent inside the SUV and planned to sleep there for the night, eager to start their hike at dawn. With the forest growing darker and the temperature dropping, they zipped up the tent and settled in for the night. Despite their adventurous spirit, an unsettling feeling washed over them as they lay there in the eerie silence. The wind howled through the trees, and the branches scratched against the car windows, creating an unsettling symphony. Just as they were about to drift off to sleep, a strange noise disrupted their peace. It was a soft, rhythmic tapping sound, like footsteps on fallen leaves. Mike and James exchanged puzzled glances, thinking it might be an animal. They turned on their flashlights and cautiously peered out of the tent's windows, but the darkness outside revealed nothing. The tapping continued, growing closer to the car. Panic crept over them as their imaginations ran wild. They whispered to each other about the stories they had heard of strange occurrences in this forest. Could those stories be true? Their anxiety intensified as they considered the possibility that something sinister might be lurking outside. Unable to ignore their fear any longer, they decided to start the car and drive away from whatever was approaching. James fumbled with the car keys in his trembling hands, but before he could even turn the ignition, the tapping abruptly stopped. The forest fell silent once more, and they were left with only their racing hearts and the sound of their own breathing. Torn between fear and curiosity, they decided to investigate the source of the noise. They slowly unzipped the tent and stepped outside, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The beams of light danced around the trees, revealing nothing out of the ordinary. They ventured a bit further, hearts pounding in their chests. As they continued to search, they stumbled upon an old, weathered sign partially hidden by overgrown vines. It read, "Beware the lost ones, for they wander these woods eternally." A chill ran down their spines as they contemplated the implications of the ominous message. Suddenly, a distant, mournful howl pierced the night air. It was not the call of a typical forest animal, but a sound that seemed to resonate with sorrow and despair. Terrified, they rushed back to the car and sped away, leaving the mysteries of Blackwood Forest behind. Mike and James never returned to Blackwood Forest, and the memory of that haunting night stayed with them forever. They couldn't explain the tapping or the eerie howl they had heard, but they knew that some secrets were best left undiscovered in the depths of that dark and haunted forest, where the lost ones were said to wander for eternity, waiting to ensnare anyone who dared to enter their domain. Robert had always been an adventurous soul, seeking solace and serenity in the depths of nature's beauty. He was an experienced hiker who had conquered numerous trails throughout his life. One warm summer morning, he decided to embark on a solo hiking expedition deep into the heart of a dense forest. The forest, known as Blackwood Woods, was notorious for its vastness and the eerie tales that surrounded it. Locals whispered of strange occurrences and unexplained phenomena within its ancient trees. But Robert paid no heed to these legends. He was more focused on the thrill of the hike and the chance to immerse himself in the untouched wilderness. Equipped with his backpack, a detailed map, and his trusty hiking boots, Robert ventured into the woods. The sunlight filtered through the dense canopy above, creating a mesmerizing play of shadows on the forest floor. Birds sang their harmonious melodies, and the soft rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze seemed like nature's own symphony. Hours passed, and Robert traversed deeper into the forest, feeling a profound connection with the untamed world around him. He paused occasionally to marvel at breathtaking vistas and to capture the beauty of his surroundings with his camera. His heart was light, and he was lost in the sheer bliss of solitude. As the day wore on, Robert ventured further off the beaten path, enticed by the allure of the unknown. The forest seemed to take on a more ominous atmosphere. The once clear trails became overgrown and confusing. He consulted his map, but it seemed that he had strayed too far from the established paths. With dusk approaching, Robert decided it was time to turn back. He retraced his steps, or so he thought. Darkness descended swiftly, and his surroundings became increasingly disorienting. Panic gnawed at his gut, but he forced himself to stay calm. Hours passed, and Robert was hopelessly lost. He tried to call for help on his cell phone, but there was no signal in this remote part of the forest. The eerie hooting of an owl and the distant howling of a coyote sent shivers down his spine. The once inviting woods now felt like a foreboding labyrinth. Days turned into weeks, and search parties scoured the vast expanse of Blackwood Woods for any trace of Robert. Helicopters hovered above, and tracking dogs sniffed the forest floor, but the effort yielded nothing. It was as though Robert had been swallowed whole by the forest itself. As the months passed, hope dwindled, and Robert's disappearance became a somber legend in the small town nearby. Some claimed they heard his voice in the whispers of the wind, while others swore they saw his silhouette among the trees. Yet, no one could find him, and he remained a haunting mystery. The legend of Robert's ill-fated hike in Blackwood Woods served as a warning to those who dared to venture too deep into the forest's heart. It was a tale of a man who had vanished without a trace, swallowed by the ancient wilderness, never to be seen or heard from again. His memory lived on as a chilling reminder of the unforgiving power of nature and the depths of the unknown.